Hey guys, it's Melissa here. Welcome to another episode of Awaken Your Inner Awesomeness. I am so excited for today because we have a very special guest with us. We have Mr. Tim James, who is the health hero. He's the founder of Chemical Free Body, and he also hosts the podcast, The Health Hero. And he's here today to talk to us about how we can actually improve our own health through diet and through different kinds of supplements and things like that. So I cannot wait to get started and talk to him all about that.
Do you suffer from sweat? Does the underarm odor or chafing really get to you? If you answered yes to either of these two things, then have I got a product for you. Hickey Products. Hickey makes sweat products for anybody. Whether you need deodorant for under the arms or a chafing stick for the thighs, they even make body powder, which is like dry shampoo but for your body. The great thing about Hickey products is they are for everybody. Anyone can use these products if you suffer from sweat or chafing, and they make excellent stocking stuffers. All you have to do is go to hickey.com, that's HIKI.com, and check out all of the amazing products that are vegan and cruelty-free to help you combat sweat and stay dry.
Thank you so much for being here, Tim. Welcome today.
Melissa, thank you so much for having me on your show today. We talked for a moment, and boy, you've been busy, girl. 600 episodes. Wow, you're out there helping people. I really appreciate that. And for the listeners, I really appreciate the opportunity to share. And as always, I hope that, I usually get excited, so be prepared. You might have to pull over and start taking notes if you're driving. But sometimes I get so excited because I've been geeking out for like 11 years on this stuff. Just kind of let it wash over you. But my goal here is that you guys just take one nugget, one thing that resonates with you the most, and you hear that theory here on the show today, but then you actually put it into action so that you can get those results in your life. That's my whole goal today. And I really want to improve the lives of other folks because I was in a bad state, which you'll probably ask me about here in a moment.
So that's exactly what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you to explain to us how you got started in the health field, because I know that you haven't always been a health conscious person. We were talking about that. So what led you to this journey of changing your lifestyle and then ultimately changing the lifestyle of thousands of people?
Well, it all started back home in Eastern Oregon. I grew up on a cattle and hay farm. We raised Hereford cattle, and we did alfalfa and grass hay. And I spent a lot of time outside. We had a big garden. Between our two farms, we had ducks and geese and cows and dogs and cats and rabbits. And then my neighbors had like goats and pigs and chickens and horses and more dogs. And, we pretty much had everything. So we were around a lot of animals, a lot of nature, and up in the woods a lot, cutting firewood and picking morel mushrooms and boletus mushrooms. And man, we were just in nature a lot. Right. And that all worked good. I grew up on the standard American diet though. And, when you're young, you don't notice it, especially I played baseball at a high level for 30 years. I told you earlier, we were very fortunate when I was 15. We took fifth in the world in the Babe Ruth World Series and Lebanon, Missouri. So that was my first introduction to fireflies and chiggers. So for those of you in that area, you'll know what I'm talking about. Some are really cool. And the other ones, they bite you. Yeah. And, let's fast forward, age 37. I've got a house, a mortgage, wife, 2 kids. I'm coaching, and my energy had waned. I was a financial advisor. I'd gained 42 pounds. My elbows. I actually started on my knee. I had a huge patch of eczema on my knee. It was cracking and bleeding, and then it went on to my elbows too. I had a skin issue on my back shoulder. Just wasn't feeling good. I'd pretty much stopped working out when I moved across town to be closer to my kids. And, I didn't have that accountability of my buddies anymore. So I just basically, the only exercise I was doing was walking the dogs because they couldn't walk themselves. But gas, bloating, not sleeping well, low energy, drinking coffee, stimulants, just didn't. I was trying things. I tried high protein, low protein, high fat, low carb, high carb, cycling, all these different things, 5 small meals a day. And some things would work for a little while, but every year I gained 2, 3, 4 pounds, and that happened. So here I was 37 and, kind of falling apart. If you guys can see, I had acid reflux really bad too. So I was eating Tums and Rolaids. Then it got worse. So for those of you that can't see us, I'm wearing a shirt and it says "Love when you poop." And the reason why I wear the shirt all the time is because I used to hate it when I would go number 2, because it was very painful. It was like a 6 to a 7 on a 10 pain scale, and followed by blood. So I was bleeding not only in my elbows and knee, but then I started bleeding rectally. So imagine my day. I'm just bleeding in 4 different places every day.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun.
No, and it's painful. And, I'd go to your house or whatever for a Christmas party or Super Bowl or whatever, and I'd bump up against your paint and I'd feel terrible because I'm over there with oh, don't worry about it, Tim. And I'm like cleaning blood off the wall, or somebody's like, what's this blood over here? Somebody hurt. And I'm like, oh my God, it's me, So, and then, you go to the beach and you take your shirt off. And it wasn't so that I was so embarrassed about taking my shirt off because I was overweight, because like over 80% of everybody else is too nowadays.
Yeah.
But I look like a salamander man with blood and stuff. So it was just like, I was kind of like an A-type outgoing person, and my world, my universe though was shrinking. I wouldn't take my shirt off. I wasn't like outgoing anymore. I wasn't my true nature because I was embarrassed and of my physical appearance and stuff like that. So that was hard. That was hard. And I kept it quiet though. I didn't tell anybody. And I didn't, I talked to my doctor, because of my acid reflux, he wanted me to go on Prilosec and do some other things. And I just never did that stuff because it sounded really weird to me, like weird, like space alien stuff. So I guess that was the guy from the woods and nature just was smart enough to stay away from it. But I wasn't smart enough to change my diet or do anything else. I just didn't, nobody freaking gave me the right information.
Right.
So what ended up happening was it got worse. I went on a big trip with my wife and her dad. He was a medical doctor in Lima, Peru. I met her down there doing some other business, and we got married, and we're on this big trip we planned. Her dad had never taken a day vacation at the hospital ever. We're up in this beach, northern Peru, beautiful. It's called Tumbes. It's right below Ecuador. And 3-4 days into the deal, I get severe gut pains and I'm bent over, and he said, we got to get you to the hospital. I missed the airplane flight out of there by half an hour. There was only one plane flight a day. And he's like, we can't wait. He's a medical doctor. So he's like, bought a van, and they transported me in the middle of the night down this bumpy road to Piura, down the coastline of Peru. And let me tell you what, I'll never forget that experience. And that's another reason why I'm here today, this experience, because every single bump hurt. My wife held me, and it was bump, 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 pain for 6 freaking hours, sweating. And I got there and it was exhausted. They pulled me into this hospital. I'm in a third world country. I'm pissed because I paid into health insurance. I can't even use it. And I go on this examination table and there's bugs flying around me in the light. Right. So that's where I was at. Her dad didn't want me to have surgery there. He wanted me to have more of a state-of-the-art hospital in Lima. It's like 18, 20 million people there. So they doped me up and put me on a commercial plane flight, which you're not supposed to do, and flew me to Lima. And I went right from the taxi cab right in, like Gurney was there, and they took me, he was coordinating the whole thing, and took me right into surgery. So I spent the rest of our vacation in hospital. And then my wife ended up wheelchairing me back into the United States as I was recovering. So what I learned from that lesson was, number one, I don't ever want to get surgery again. Number two, my poor health doesn't affect just me. It affected everybody else around me, because we put a lot of money and time and effort into that. And I ruined her dad. 30 years, he'd never taken a vacation. And where does he end up? Back in the hospital, taking care of me. I felt like a jerk. Right. And I wasn't like I was a bad person, but I was going along with society, the standard American diet, and all this crap that I learned later that was in the food that was destroying my health from the inside out and destroying my gut health. So long story short, my buddy then, I still don't know what I'm doing, but my buddy gets cancer, chronic lymphocytic leukemia. And he says, hey, dude, like I want to live. They don't really have anything for me at the hospital here. Will you go with me to Florida? I'm going to go to this place called the Hippocrates Health Institute. They're in West Palm Beach. There's like natural detox nutrition clinic deal. And will you go with me to support me? And I'm like, yes, I will support you no matter what. I wasn't thinking of anything else except for here, I'm going to lose another friend, because I just lost a buddy of mine on my baseball team at age 40 to stomach cancer. Clay Mahoy died and left 3 little boys behind from ages 6 to 17. We did a fundraiser and all that. And my grandma died of brain cancer. My aunt died of skin cancer. So my experience first person was you get cancer and you die. And I thought I was going to lose another friend. So I was just whatever he wanted. I figured, so we go there. And the first day, all of a sudden, my acid reflux is gone. After a few days, I actually wasn't feeling that good because I was doing this detox thing. Like they took me off the standard American diet and I was eating like a chipmunk, like literally like a wild creature. Sprouts, sprouted nuts, sprouted seeds, sprouted grains, sprouted beans, wheatgrass shots, green juices, purified restructured water with lemon and lime juice in it. Taking infrared saunas, hot cold plunges. We were exercising and stuff I hadn't been doing in a while. The first class there blew my mind. It was a 3.5-hour class called Internal Awareness. And this very fit doctor comes out with muscles all over the place. And he goes, you have to, people take really good care of the outside of their body. Like women, they put on their makeup and they get their hair right and get their blouse styled in, their dress, their suit, whatever. Guys got to get their hair right, trim the mustache, do all these things, put on the suit and tie and rock and roll. But what about the inside? You can't see it. And what's going on in there? You don't know. So even if you're OCD, your kitchen's immaculate, 9 times out of 10, I can put my finger across the top of your refrigerator and there's dust up there because it's out of sight, out of mind. We can't see what's going on inside of us. And let me tell you what I learned. I have seen what's going on inside of us and learned this stuff myself and over 600 people that I've coached. And it is a main focus of our business over here is to help people awaken to this and start taking care of the gut. Like if you want beautiful skin, forget about the skincare and all that stuff. If you learn how to take care of your intestinal villi, those little hair-like structures lining your intestine and make your intestines beautiful, I promise you, you will be the most beautiful version, glowing, amazing skin version you've ever seen of yourself. I get compliments now. I'm 48 years old on my skin. I never got compliments in my skin when I was in my 20s. I get compliments all the time. Like, especially women are like in yoga, like, whoa, your skin's, what do you do? And it's like, I take care of my villi. And they're like, what? They don't even know what I'm talking about half the time. So, and then I tell them, because I'm joking around. But anyway, so this doctor explains all this stuff. And from the time you eat food until the time it exits the body and what happens. And I'm like, wow, this is fantastic. Where was this information in high school and college? That's great. And then he's like, you have about 6 to 12 pounds of impacted fecal material in your colon and you got to clean it up. And he looked at me and he said, Tim, you got 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag. And if you ever want to be healthy, truly healthy, you have to clean up that mess. And I was like, okay, makes sense. But then he was trying to sell us on a colon hydrotherapy session or colonic. Have you heard of those things?
I have. Yes.
Have you
never
done
done
one?
that. Nope. Never done one.
Okay. Well, when I heard about it, well, first off, for you listeners out there, if you're not familiar, you basically set on a tube rectally and water goes out of your colon gently for about an hour. Okay. Now, when I heard this, I'm like, dude, I came here to help you, but I'm not going to do that. Okay. It's just not happening. But this doctor was a genius because pictures are worth 60,000 words. So he showed 3 people that had been on the standard American diet. And then what was it going on? They did a virtual colonoscopy and they went inside of them. So the first one was like a 25-year-old female she had Hashimoto's and thrush, which is a yeast infection. It was all yellow and nasty in her colon. I was like, oh my God. Then they went to a 65-year-old male with colon cancer and parasites. It was all black and brown, nasty in there and worms crawling around. And I'm just like, holy God. And then he turns around, he says, by the way, easily over 50% of you have these parasites in your body. And not just these parasites and hookworms and pinworms that you can see in these virtual colonoscopies, but microscopic parasites. And all of them are eating your food and drinking your drinks, and they're urinating and defecating in you, causing more acid. And then they have sex and lay a lot of eggs in you. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
So he's got my attention now, right?
Yeah, it's like something out of a horror movie.
Yeah, remember, I'm the guy that's like, there's no way, dude, I'm rough, tough, redneck dude. You're not going to get me to do that colon hydrotherapy deal. Yeah. And then there was like a 45-year-old female with breast cancer, and she had like Crohn's or colitis. Her gut was jacked up or something. Inside of her colon was nasty. Then he said, now this is a person that's been on the Hippocrates lifestyle, blah, blah, blah. You go in and see it, and the colon was like pink and the red and you could see everything. Now there was still waste matter in there, but the terrain was different. It was a completely different environment inside the healthy person versus the ones that were sick. And that's when it clicked for me. And I was like, oh my God, that's me. That's why I have all these problems and my skin issues. And I get it. And I'm like, I'm going to freaking clean my colon. I stood up in the middle of nowhere in the class, and I walked over to the sign up sheet, and he's like, Tim, well, we're going to sign up later. And I'm like, and I'm signing up now. I ignored him, put it down, went back and sat down. He's kind of shaking his head. And the next day I went in and they weighed me. And then I did that 1 hour colon hydrotherapy session. And I had weighed me again after an hour, and I dropped 10 pounds of impacted fecal material that was in my colon.
Wow.
And it was just like a burden was lifted. And, the next day, I felt so good. And I looked at Charles and I was like, dude, do you feel as good as I do? And he's like, yeah. I was like, dude, you're going to heal. I've interviewed everybody around here. I can't believe it. But I said, I believe it now. I said, I'm going to go home. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm going to do this whole thing with you. We've discovered the fountain of youth. I said, I'm going to give up all meat except for bacon. And we are going to rock and roll this thing. And you are going to heal of this cancer. And we got committed. We got really committed. Now, right before that moment had happened, I was going through a detox, because remember, I came off the standard American diet and I went right into the eating like a chipmunk. Okay. Most people can't do this because they got jobs and kids and responsibilities, and you can't lay in bed for a day or 2 or 3, right? You can't
Right.
be down. So we've kind of fixed that. We made it easier for people. But my point is that what happened to me was I had like night sweats. I was irritable. I had a metallic taste coming out of my tongue as heavy metals were exiting my body, but I didn't have as bad as some people. Some people had parasites, literally, Melissa, crawling out their pores. At lunchtime, a lady had a parasite crawling out her eye. And I was like, you have a parasite crawling out your eye, and don't let it fall in your salad. And she's like, oh my God. Now, people listening, they might think that that's woo woo and they don't believe it, but guess what? It was real. I saw it with my own eyes multiple times, and it's no magic. Okay. The standard American diet, the low amount of nutrients and the processed foods, the cooked foods, the irradiated foods, the microwave foods, all this garbage that we've been, and the soils have been farmed. Now, there's no nutrition in our soils anymore. And then the pesticides, the fungicides, and the herbicides, spraying all this crap on them, right? You eat that. We are on the highest acid, low oxygen lifestyle diet. And then you throw the amount of stress on that we have, and then you throw in the EMFs and the 5G and all that stuff. It's a recipe for disaster in our bodies. And what happened is viruses, bacteria, mold, yeast, fungus, parasites, those mutagens, cancers, they love high acid, low oxygen. What were they doing at the Hippocrates Health Institute to me and my buddy Charles and everybody else there? They were cleaning us up, getting rid of all that funk and gunk and junk, and they were putting us on the highest alkaline, highest oxygen lifestyle, internally and externally, you could possibly do. We changed the environment, and the harmful organisms packed their bags and they left. That's why the parasites and the stuff was coming out. A polar bear does not do good in Florida. It's going to pack its bags and go back to the North Pole. We have to stick in our environments. And that's what happened. We came back, and in 2.5 years, my friend healed himself of that disease with no chemo, no radiation, no surgery, right in front of my face. I saw it with my own eyes. He's alive today. We're playing guitar, hanging out. He got to see his son graduate high school, go to father-son weekend. And me, in 60 days, all my health issues were completely gone except for that big patch on my knee. And here I am 11 years later. I'm on a mission. I'm hacking my health every day, every week. What can I do to look younger, feel better, and not get sick, and just vibrate at a high frequency, literally, and then share that with other people so they can do the same thing. And I originally did it out of fear, but now I'm doing it for fun.
I love that. And I love that you're helping so many people. Personally, I know with going through what I've gone through with my own mother, who's going through pancreatic cancer, it's amazing and astounding to me how we treat cancer. And all of the research that I've done on my own and just books that I've read, it's like we're doing it completely wrong. Mm-hmm. And when I talked to her oncologist about, well, can we try this, or should we do this, or it was just like, well, you can try whatever you want. We can't, we don't approve any of that because it's, just all experimental. But I think the studies out there, even though they haven't been FDA approved studies, show the opposite of that there is so much that people are doing mm-hmm. when they fix their diet, when they fix what they're taking in, because we're lacking it in the food that we eat today. It just shows that you can reverse and heal a lot of things naturally.
It's sometimes we get too smart for our britches, and we think that everything has to go through some, gods of medicine or the FDA or the CDC. Where in nature is the FDA or this. Nature's been evolving just fine for millions and billions of years, doing it quite well, right? A natural balance, evolution, growing. When you think about that and you look at the creatures on this planet, the only ones that are really sick are humans and the animals we've domesticated, our pets and zoo animals. They're the ones that have all the disease. Now, there are other creatures in the world now that are getting sick because of all the pollution we've created, and we've displaced them from overpopulation. I think, did you know we have 6 million more human beings are net every month on this planet?
Wow.
We're increasing our population by 6 million a month net after death, births and deaths.
Yeah.
Think about that. So the reality is nature's got it figured out. Western medicine's been around about 150 years. Nature's been around about 1 billion. Who do you want to bet on?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Our problem is we have too much pollution, too much chemicals and toxins. And don't take my word for it. If you want to look up some studies and you want to get into that kind of stuff, go to your browser and type in 3 little words: umbilical cord chemical, umbilical cord chemical. And you'll see those same studies that I saw that go back to 2005. Every single young mother and child that was born that they tested the umbilical cord blood looking for 400 toxic chemicals. They found 250 or 71% of what they were looking for.
Wow.
Think about that. 180 of those cause cancer in humans and 212 cause developmental and brain disorders. This isn't our babies.
Yeah.
And that's when I flipped my lid and I sat back and I was like, oh my God, we are all polluted. This is that dust up on top of the fridge. This is the 6 to 12 pounds of fecal material in your gut you can't see. And this is the toxic chemicals that are floating around in your blood, your fat, your muscle tissue, and in your brain. Our children today, all you have to do is look at it. Forever, the number one killer of our children was accidents. And now between the ages of 1 to 5, it's no longer accidents. It's brain cancer is what's killing our kids. Now from ages 5 to 16, it's still accidents because kids, we out there trying to learn and grow and do stuff. And we do stupid things.
Yeah.
That's why car insurance for teenagers is through the roof, right?
Right, exactly.
But the sad thing is now the number 2 killer of our kids from 5 to 16 is now a tie between brain cancer and these leukemia, lymphoma type deals, these other cancers. Completely chemical, right? Yeah. Now, what I just said was they were looking for 400 chemicals. There's over 100,000 toxic man-made chemicals out there. There's 2,000 new toxic chemicals made every year, and only 1/4% of these things is ever tested. The rest are just released out there because they can't make the timelines to get them tested. So by law, they just let them go out there. So we live in a soup. That's the way it is. And people don't get it because you can't see it. But let me give you an example. Everybody here probably drives a car, knows about cars. What happens to car tires after a while? They wear out. The tread's gone, and you got to get new tires. Well, where'd the tread go? Well, they're spinning at high speeds, and the microscopic the rubbers and plastics compounds are flying up into the air. And then you breathe that in, and it goes and attaches to the back of your mucous membrane in your throat, and it goes down into your digestive tract. And the same thing with automobile exhaust, jet fuel, pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, larvicides, all these things that are off-gassing, paint off-gassing in your house that you're breathing, the glue's off-gassing in the particle board. It's freaking 24/7. What about harmful if swallowed toothpaste? Please contact the Poison Control Center.
Yeah.
If you're brushing your teeth with that, you might want to think about not doing that. Isn't it poisoning you a little bit every time you brush your teeth and your children? Yes. What about sodium lauryl sulfate, the main suffocant in shampoos and stuff to make it foam up? Carcinogen. When I came home, I looked at my toothpaste and it was like, harmful if swallowed. Please contact the Poison Control Center. I was like, dang it. I threw that away and got some better stuff. And it was like, first ingredient in my shampoo was sodium lauryl sulfate. It's everywhere. 95% of the products that we are purchasing is what's killing us. And people are not paying attention to this. Glade air fresheners and all this garbage. We're trying to make it smell good. No, you're polluting yourself and you're killing yourself. That's why the umbilical cord studies show what they show. So this is a major problem. And we want to bring awareness to this, because once you get awareness, you can stop putting it in. You can clean up your air, clean up your water, clean up your food. And there's certain detox and supplements that you can take to get this crap and these microscopic invaders out of your body. And then your immune system will lift up and it'll keep you well.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even realize, I think most people don't, what you're consuming just eating the things that you buy at the store. Because even if you think you're eating healthy, if you're not buying organic produce, you're still consuming the pesticides and the different things that they put on the produce. Like one thing I totally did not even make the connection to was, when my mom was looking at diet and different things, they said, stop drinking milk. They're like, don't drink milk. And we're like, why? Isn't the calcium good for her? And they said, no, it has the growth hormone in it that they're injecting into the animals to get them to produce more milk. And, so that's actually feeding the cancer that she has. So tell her right now to stop drinking milk, like switch to coconut milk or almond milk or something better than that. And those are just things like we don't even think about because we get taught in school, the food pyramid, and you need to eat so much of this and so much of that. And all of that completely goes out the window when you start doing some of the real research on what really is healthy for you and what's not.
Yeah. And the best research is actually make those changes in your own life and just see what happens. Again, it's all theory until you do it yourself. And why does it have to be this? And then science today has now become the oldest profession. It's prostitution, basically, right? It's a pay for play. So the scientific method is not being used a lot. It's scientific consensus and checkbook science. And a lot of that scientific consensus is based on pay for play. So this is like everybody, remember, it wasn't too long ago. It's like everybody, all the scientists said the world was flat. And Galileo said, hey, you're an idiot. It's not round. He's like, yeah, I got this data over here. And yes, it is round. Chastised, put down, rocks thrown at him, and then all of a sudden it's self-evident. So all I always tell people is like, look at this. We spend 3.3 trillion on healthcare, if you want to call it that, sick care in this, in America, as an example. We're the sickest people that have ever walked the face of the planet, period. So whatever mainstream is telling you, anything on mainstream media, whatever commercials are telling you to buy, whatever, anything mainstream, just turn around and go the opposite direction, 180 degrees. And I promise you have 95% chance you're probably going to be a lot healthier. You can't follow the system. The system is broken. It's not working. Just look around. People are suffering. I was suffering. I was bleeding rectally. My elbows were bleeding. I could have died on a freaking vacation. I'm 37 years old with kids. Should I be dying? No, I should be thriving. And I know people in their 80s that are right now that are healthier than I am right now. And I'm doing a lot of work, right? It is possible to have a higher quality of life. People just don't understand it. And there's a lot of emotional baggage that we're dragging around. And we're using food as the dope to push those emotions down. But until we can get those emotions up and deal with them and heal, it's going to be tough. So for me, the food was a stepping stone to let the emotions up so that I could deal with them and cry them out, do the detox that way, the emotional detox. I actually started crying uncontrollably. I don't talk about this a lot on the podcast, but Dr. Clement said that when they'll have guys from like Calgary, Canada that were like ranch hands and cowboys. They were herding cattle, and they're literally eating a baked potato and a chunk of steak next to a barbed wire fence and drinking out of a tin cup their coffee, right? All acid, by the way, and improper food combining. But at least they were getting some fresh air. Yeah. Well, they get stage 4 cancer too. And when Western medicine fails them and it's not working, some of them will gravitate to a Hippocrates type health institute to try to live. Okay. Because when you've tried everything, you'll keep trying because your back's against the wall and you got a gun to your head, literally. Sure. And he said, we'll find people like this, these tough guys that 3-4 days into the program, that they'll be getting a massage, and somewhere in the middle of the massage or to the end of the massage, all of a sudden they start crying uncontrollably and they can't stop crying for an hour to 2 hours. And they don't know what happened. And what happened is they're releasing the emotions. Maybe their dad beat the crap out of them when they were a little boy, or who knows what happened to them. In my coaching profession, I've personally coached over 600 people, and I was shocked to find out that about 50 to 60% of the people that I've coached have been molested, and 80% of them by their family members. I can't believe it. And it's like, I think that's a pretty good sampling of the population. It just blows my mind what's going on. So people have deaths that they have not overcome. There's tragedies in their lives. There's somebody, I can't say who it is, but when they were 10, they overheard an ant and the uncle say, yeah, we'll take his sisters, but we don't want to have him come. That's what he heard, or he thought he heard. And from that, and this guy had never cried a day in his life. And around age 77, he cried a tear, and he got up and didn't know what was happening. And he ran out of the room. And, he'd been holding on to those emotions his whole life, trying to be tough. And it was destroying him on the inside, destroying his health and his happiness. So it's okay, guys. I know there's probably mostly women listening here, and women are probably shaking their head. Yes, let that stuff out. It's what we need. But guys, man, it's just all this, anything society, just stop doing it. Do the exact opposite. If society says be tough, okay, be open, be transparent, put your heart out there, shine some light on your heart, freaking cry a little bit, get this crap out of your body. It's not just the physical detox and cleaning up your colon and your blood, but getting the emotions out. This is where the true healing begins. It's all encompassing. That's why this isn't like you go in, what's your problem? Oh, well, here's a synthetic acid-based pill for your problem. Do I have to change my diet? Nope. Do I have to exercise? Well, it'd be a good idea. Okay. And then they don't do it.
Yeah.
Just give me the purple pill and let me go back to living a life that's, it's not even life. You're not living. In fact, when I was at Hippocrates, they have really high quality psychotherapists, like really good ones. 95% of them are crazy. No offense, psychotherapists, but you are. The 5% are good. They're not nuts. And they help people, right? And they help people talk about this emotional stuff, right? And I just lost my train of thought, but that's okay, because it's time for you to ask me another question. Maybe I'll think of it. It was really an important point, though. Dang it. That's okay. We'll come back.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll come back to you. No, I think that you raised a very good point, because I think a lot of what makes us sick isn't always just diet. I mean, of course, that's a huge part of it, but also emotion. And yeah. I see the same thing when I work with clients myself, with coaching clients. They often are experiencing emotions that they don't really understand what's causing it or why they're feeling it. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what we get to the bottom of, because you have to feel it to heal it. And I think that's where a lot of people want to skip around that part, because it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable sometimes to do that or to feel it, but you have to, because those emotions don't go anywhere. They're still there. And if you don't deal with it.
Yeah. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So it was not just the psychotherapist, but the doctors there. So let's say you get diagnosed with cancer. Usually when that happens, super fear mode, deer in the headlights, everybody's freaking out. And then you get a bazillion emails or whatever and things on Facebook. I'm sorry. That's really not doing anybody any good. When you go to Hippocrates, they'll be like, okay, so what's troubling you? And they're looking at your charts and you're like, well, I've got stage 4 breast cancer or pancreatic cancer. And they'll be like, oh, congratulations. And the people look at them and they're like, what are you talking about? Well, you understand, right, that you're one of the few people on this planet that's actually got an opportunity, a chance to truly live. And sometimes they have to explain it to them, because most of us are not living. We're just going through life, right? 74% of people are not happy with their career. Over 70% of marriages end up in divorce. People are confused about relationships. People are confused about food. People are confused about their career. Again, fallen society. How's it working for you? Right. I mean, God, we need everybody to thrive. We really do. And then we get the synchronicities that could start happening, and when you get a hold of somebody that's into their career and they love it and they're excited about it, you want to hire that person to help you solve whatever problem, right? You want to be around them. You want to find good quality. You want a crappy contractor building your house, and maybe you'll charge a little bit less, but then 6 months later, you're watching dinner or watching a movie with your family, and all of a sudden the roof's leaking. Probably not. You want to get somebody that's quality in there. So my point is that, like, when you have these diagnoses or you have these things that are so-called bad, they're not bad. What I've learned is that everything in life, Melissa, is meaningless. It's only the meaning that we associate to it. So when you have a cancer diagnosis like this, it's going to force the change. You've actually created it. You've manifested the cancer. You've done it yourself. Your higher mind, God, he, shit, whatever you want to call it, is saying, look, it's time to wake up. You need to live. You have gifts. You have talents. Creation doesn't make mistakes. And we need you to get it into gear or not. You can just become contrast for somebody else to do it, or you can get into gear and live your life. And so that's what my friend Charles did. He started getting busy living. And through him and his transformation and me being right there by his side, helping him, he motivated me to do things. You know what made me what I am today? Charles getting cancer and my brother's death. Those two things were major pivotal transformational points in my life. Number one, with Charles getting that cancer diagnosis, for me to change my way of life and my diet and all that stuff that led to my emotional breakthrough. I was going to tell you, I cried for hours, a couple different times, felt like I was floating around on a magic carpet. And then the second time was later on in life. My little brother got killed in a mountain biking accident, and he gave me permission to start doing what I'm doing today, because I finally just, I remember 6 months after his death, I looked up and I said, Troy, what do you want me to do? And he said, do what you love and do it now. And I called my financial advisor mentor and I said, Jeff, I'm out. He's like, what are you talking about? Out of what? I said, I'm out of the financial services industry. I'm going to get in. He's, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to go help people with their health. How are you going to make money? I was like, I have no idea. I said, but I'm out. My little brother's dead, and I'm not going to spend one more second of my life not living my highest purpose or excitement. So I got a dry erase board and I just started coaching people for free. And, and it wasn't easy. The first 60 months of my business, I lost money. So thank God I was a saver, and I used up all my savings and everything trying to figure it out. It was a whole new industry. I'm not a tech guy. I've gotten burned by so many people in the tech side of things, but I never gave up, and I just stuck with it because I didn't get into it for the money. I got into it because I really wanted to help people, not, that were like me, that were just desperate, wanting somebody to just give them some truth so they could start getting some freaking results. Right. So I think that's really important for people to recognize that creation doesn't make mistakes, and we need you to be living your highest purpose and your highest excitement. It's just better for everybody. It's better for our families and our communities. And we need that, but we need that today.
Absolutely. And I love that you're doing that. And that, one of the things that I think is so true is when you're searching for what is my purpose in life, the best way to find it is just to serve. When you find service to others, oftentimes your purpose really follows that.
Yeah. Yeah. We get people that are, I get quite a few people that are suicidal just reaching out to us. I take those calls personally. And the first thing I tell them to do is just, I talk to them about, their self-worth and all that stuff. But I said, look, you need to go help somebody right now. Go help an old lady walk across the street. Go help people go to the grocery store and pack groceries for people. You got to go do something. Go give. Go to your old lady next to you. And not that I'm picking on ladies, but it's just, go help somebody that can't help themselves. Go take a little kid whose dad's passed away and go play catch with him or something. Start giving. That will start raising that vibrational frequency inside of you that will transmute into other areas of your life and get you out of that dark spot. And if you're alive right now and you're breathing, man, you have purpose. You wouldn't be here. I just know creation doesn't make mistakes. You're going to question creation, and who's going to do that? It's like, no, there are no mistakes. You're here. So live and follow your highest excitement. And I mean, I could talk about this stuff for hours. Like, it's been, all this stuff to me used to be woo woo. It used to be completely woo woo. And I got to say something too about that, about Reiki. Before I went to Hippocrates, there was a massage therapist in my building, and once a week I'd get worked on by her. I went to Hippocrates and I had that crying deal happen where I changed my life and all that stuff with the foods and all that, but I cried for like 45 minutes to an hour the first time, nonstop. Well, I came back. Now here's the typical scenario. I opened the door and she's like, "Hi, Tim. How are you? Have a seat. I've got some clove essential oil going in the diffuser. I've got some nice music and Tchaikovsky or whatever. And so good to see you. This is the nicest lady in the world, but she had forms like a freaking logger. I mean, she's telling you. And she's like, just super nice. And then this time though, and remember, this is every single time, and I've been seeing her for 2 years. I open up the door, and the first thing she says goes, "What happened to you?" Like, what are you talking about? She's like, "Something has changed in your life." And I was just like, what is she talking about? Like she's freaking me out because it's so believable, right?
Right.
I'm redneck. I'm thinking woo woo still, but I'm starting to come out of it because all this stuff that wasn't supposed to work is working for me. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, something has changed. She goes, you don't know this, but she goes, I always scheduled you at the end of the day. You're my last client. Do you know why? And I'm like, no. She goes, because when I work on you, I'm exhausted. I couldn't possibly work on somebody else. I have to go home and it takes me 3, 4, 5 hours to recover after working on you. And I was like, are you serious? And she's like, yes, I'm very serious. She goes, so something has happened. So what is it? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And because she just confronted me. So I was just like off my rocker. So she goes, well, okay, we'll sit down and you lay down, do your things. Like she knock, she comes in, she does her session, all that stuff. And I was like, I was worried for her. I'm like, are you okay? She's like, oh, she goes, I was able to work on you. She goes, I could work on you all day. So tell me what happened. And what happened recently? And I was like, well, I went to this health institute and then I got into this whole story and we just sat there because I was the last one of the day and she was curious. And she's like, oh. And what I found out is that big emotional release was me releasing a lot of frustration from my child custody battle with my ex and the kids. And I had let pretty much all of that go. But it was that, and who knows, whatever other stuff from maybe my dad being, tough and all these things that, and me trying to live up to those expectations and who knows, but I let a lot of stuff go. Like I said, that's when I realized that Reiki wasn't woo woo, that we are energy. And I'm here to tell people, like if somebody tells you you're an energy, if you're a light being, you're like a light frequency energy being, that's not woo woo. And I studied it because I wanted to know. The reality is that the sun emits photons. You guys can go look this up if you're not scientific. Photons are captured on the leaf of a plant via photosynthesis, and they're converted into, amino acids, fatty acids, which are proteins and fats, and, carbohydrates, all that stuff in there. But more importantly, it converts protons into electrons in the plant. Our bodies, we are electric beings. Even Western medicine's diagnostic equipment measures our electric. When you get hooked up to an EKG, your heart meter, what does that do? Beep, beep. That's an electrical impulse. We produce heat. How do we do that? Because we have billions of electrons, trillions of them spinning around inside of us. That's what's going on. So when you consume the raw leaf of a plant, which they did at Hippocrates, that's why I'm big on sprouting, you're actually transferring and charging up your battery pack with electrons when you eat living foods. So we are energy light beings via the sun. And if you believe in God, then God put the sun there. Okay. So anyway, I just wanted to say that because a lot of these things that I thought was woo-woo is not woo-woo at all. It's reality, and it's steeped in basic science and physics.
Yeah, that is so true. And I think the more you get into those kinds of studies, you realize, for me, I had never, before I did Reiki, before I was introduced to it, I didn't know anything about that. And so at first as I'm studying this and practicing this, I'm like, I don't know if this is working, and then people were telling me, oh my gosh, like the headache that I had is gone. I feel better. Mm-hmm. It feels what someone told me one time, and I love this analogy, but she said it felt like, when you bite into a York peppermint patty, that cool feeling. She's like, I felt it through my entire body.
Mm. Yeah, minus the high fructose corn syrup.
Right, exactly. It's the bad stuff, but
I get it. The mint from the peppermint plant.
Right, exactly. I love that. That's one of my favorite headache cures too, is just pure peppermint oil. It's awesome. Mm-hmm. I want to thank you so much for being here. You've imparted so much wisdom for us and with us, and I know there's probably a lot of people out there who maybe want to start on a health journey, but they really just don't even know where to start. And for those people out there listening, where would you tell them to start if they're hoping to improve their health?
Well, I've had this question asked a lot, so I've actually set up a system to help people. So the first thing to do is just go to our website at chemicalfreebody.com. And as you're scrolling around a little bit, a free gift is going to pop up. You're going to get my ebook on the core 4 secrets. These are the foundational habits to transforming your health. And 3 of them don't cost a dime, which is really cool. So these are things you can start doing immediately You can just, you get that, download it, and you like literally can begin immediately transforming your health. The other thing is, like, if you want to take it to the next level, we actually, with our formulator, Dr. Scott Treadway, who's in his 70s, and he's happy and healthy, and his skin looks like a 35-year-old. So he's walking the walk, which is really cool. And he meditates like an hour and a half a day. He's like one of my mentors. I love him. We've developed a detox and nutrition line. So it's kind of like a clinic in a box. So for those of you that can't, break free right now and go to a Hippocrates Health Institute, I totally think you should, especially if you got stage 4 diagnosis, go there. But we can support you in the meantime. And then when you get back, we can support you. But you can probably just go to our products tab, scroll down. I'll show you how to get a discount. You can go to savings bundles. We have a little jumpstart bundle all the way up to the total energy and detox bundle, and the bottle of our turmeric 100 cellular anti-inflammatory formula. It's really profound stuff. That's what I do on a monthly basis. Or pick a bundle in between that resonates with you and your budget, and just get started there. And then at checkout, they can put in the code AWAKEN and get an additional 5% off. That way you guys can get a double discount. And we have a double your money back guarantee on all of our products. Now, if you're one of the rare few that a product doesn't work for, we will refund your money. I also want you to call us, and myself or one of my coaches will get on the phone with you. We want to help you solve your problem. That's what we want to help. And if one of our tools in the toolkit doesn't work, we have hundreds of tools in our toolkit, and we have other tools that other companies have we can put in your toolkit. We live and breathe this stuff. All my coaches are like me. We've had massive transformations. We've maintained health. We're all, personal trainers, instructors. I'm a yoga instructor. I'm a raw food chef. I mean, I can cook food too. That's easy. But, in living foods, and we really want to help people. And, that's kind of what we're all about over here. We want to bring awareness, and we give you the tools for change.
Awesome. And so I know that you have coaches that also will coach and work with people too, if they need some support along the way.
Yeah. So I'm not really taking clients on anymore, myself personally, but that's why I started our group coaching community. So every week I go live on Wednesday, and we do a live Q&A. I do a topic and then a Q&A. And we're also setting it up now where we can go into breakout rooms and you can meet other like-minded people and we're really about building community over here. Once a month, our formulator, Dr. Scott Treadway, comes on, who he trained in India and became a master herbalist in Indian herbology, then Chinese herbology and Western herbology. But he saw patients on a daily basis, came back, created his own clinic and saw patients on a daily basis for 10 years, but then decided that his skill set was best used creating formulas to help more people. I was fortunate enough to be hooked up with him, and he was one of the few formulators in labs that would make my products as pure as I wanted. There's a real big hole in the supplement industry. Maybe you could have me back on and I can show people how to pick out the right supplements and awaken them to what they're actually putting in some of the supplements. You won't believe it. We are a needle in a haystack. So we have Dr. Treadway there. He comes on the show once a month. It's called Talk with the Doc. And then I have a special guest, maybe somebody like yourself would like to come on and talk about Reiki and explain what all that is to our private group coaching community. And if you could hook that up with my assistant, I would love to have you do that. And so we have a special guest that actually is living the lifestyle, doing something meaningful, transform themselves. They're helping other people to come on to the community and give some more value to the community. And it's really awesome. So we have that, and we have the community, and then we also have a one-on-one coaching for people that want to be just held by the hand.
Well, I love that you are doing so much to help so many people, and I want to thank you for really all the lives you've changed, because personally, knowing, someone who's going through cancer, I know what a horrible battle it is. And to have people who are making it their life's mission to help other people heal naturally is amazing. So thank you so much for all that you're doing.
Well, you're doing that too, I want you to give yourself a big hug right now, because that's what you're doing with that's it. Just hug yourself, people. That's what we want.
Well, thank you. And I've really enjoyed this conversation. I would love to have you back on to talk about supplements, because I am into essential oils and all of those things, and LifeWave patches and everything. So the whole gamut. So I'm always interested in learning about new ways to supplement my health. And just, I know there's a lot of people out there who probably would love to start taking the right things, but just don't even know where to start. So it'd be great to have you back on in the future to talk about supplements and where people can really start, because it's very overwhelming.
Yeah, we could actually do like a live, like a case study, right? So I've done this with a couple other podcasters where you get on our products and then we can actually take your existing products and we can go through them live. And I can show you, go through each of the ingredients, the other ingredients, which are also ingredients. And then we just, open people's eyes. And usually people are pretty surprised, but 95+% of the stuff that you have in your shelves have something in it that you probably don't want to be eating.
Yeah, that would be really an interesting thing to do. We'll definitely set that up, and I can't wait for that. Before we leave, I always like to ask people, but first of all, I want to remind everyone that Tim has so graciously set up a discount for you. So if you go to the website, and it is chemicalfreebody.com, correct?
Yes.
And you can put in the code AWAKEN, and I'll have that in the show notes too. I'll have the link to the website, and I'll also have the discount code. You can get 5% off of any of the products that they have on their page. So I highly encourage you to go check out that website. But before we leave, I always like to ask our guests to leave our listeners with a little nugget of wisdom that they can take with them for the day. And I know that you've given us a lot to think about, but if there's one piece of advice that you could leave people with today, what would that be?
Put yourself first. So many people put themselves last, especially the moms out there. Guys do it too, but particularly women, they will just, put everything on their shoulders. They're trying to, a lot of them have to have a career nowadays too, because of what the elites have done to the working class, forcing both mom and dad out into the workforce. Children are being raised by other people in the state. It's very frustrating. So you put yourself last, you're exhausted. You're not really happy, you're burnout, and then a wheel falls off with your health, and now you can't help anybody. Now, the reality is, I'll just make it really simple. If somebody would ask me this question 10 years ago, who's more important, you or your kids? I said, oh, my kids. That feels like the right thing to say, and it's true. I take a bullet for my kids. I would, yeah. Right? But what I've learned is that my kids model me. Like, baby bear does what mama bear does. If mama bear's like, hey, over here in the creek, there's some salmon, eat them. But if she never took the kid or the baby bear to the creek, it's not going to know where the salmon are. It has to be shown. So our actions speak louder than words, right? So now if somebody asked me that question now, who's more important, you or your kids? Emphatically, it's me. There's no question it's me. And why is that? And I told my kids this. I said, who's more important to me, you or me? They're like, what are you talking about? You're 21 and 19 now. Yeah. So I just want to let you know it's me. I'm more important than you. And they're like, okay. And I said, you know why I believe that? And no, I said, because I want you to put yourself first. I want you to put yourself before your wife. I want you to put yourself before your kids. I want to put yourself first because I want you to be healthy and happy and vibrant, because that is what you want to do if you want to have your kids be healthy and happy and vibrant, and your wife and everything else, because you lead by example. That's what it is. You lead by example. So think about it. Do you want your kids to be where you're at? You're in your middle age or whatever, and you're unhealthy and unhappy and not really liking life. Is that what you really want? Because that's the model that you're giving them. Now, again, that model that you're giving them is a gift. And because life is meaningless, your kids can look at it and go, wow, I'm just going to do what mom does or dad does, or wow, I'm not going to live my life the way mom and dad does. So you create contrast for them. But why not just be a good example? Why not put yourself first and then lead by that example? I just think that's a much better way to go. It's just kind of the old thing in the airplane, like put on your face mask first, then put the face mask on your kid. Because if you try to put on your kid first and you run out of oxygen, you both die.
Yeah.
If you really care about your kids and you really love your kids, you have to love yourself, put yourself first, because you want them to do the same thing. So hopefully I summed that up without sounding like a jerk, but that's what I believe.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. And I think we need to stop feeling like we need to have permission from somebody to put ourselves first. Like, just put yourself first and don't feel guilty about it, because as you said, you can't I love this quote. Give the world the best of you, not what's left of you. But that's what we end up giving, is what's left of us when we don't take care of ourselves.
Awesome quote. Thanks for sharing, Melissa.
Yeah, and I want to thank you so much for being here with us today. And we look forward to hearing from you again in the future for another exciting episode. So thank you again for coming and sharing all of your knowledge.
Yes, my pleasure. I'm just I'm really happy to be here, and I just have a lot of love for you and your listeners. I hope you guys are kicking butt in life and putting yourself first, and living a happy, abundant life, and setting that example for your kids, your family, and your communities. We really need you to be happy.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, and thank all of you for being here with us today. As always, if you like this podcast, please subscribe. Please leave a positive review from wherever you're listening. And the highest compliment you can pay me is to share my podcast with anyone you think might benefit from it. Thank you so much. Don't forget, you can follow me on social media. I go live Mondays at 6:30 Central, where I do a free card reading on Facebook. If you show up for the live, I'll pull a card especially for you. And you can work with me if you go to my website, melissaoatman.com. I hope that you guys are having a beautiful day from wherever you're listening. As always, I'm sending you so much love and light, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.